The smarter you get, the less you speak. The stronger you become, the quieter your battles. The more powerful your energy, the fewer explanations you owe. Silence, my friends, is not weakness. It's not retreat. And it sure as hell isn't surrender. It's strategy. It's self-respect. It's the weapon that leaves no fingerprints, only consequences. See, in a world where everyone's screaming for attention, the one who says nothing is the one they start listening to. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a storm. Everyone around you is panicking, shouting, running. But you're still, you're silent. You don't chase the lightning. You become the eye of the storm. That's power, because when chaos hits, silence isn't weakness. It's command. The lion doesn't roar at the mosquito, and you shouldn't waste breath on those trying to drain your peace. But here's the lie the world sold us, that silence means you don't care, that if you don't react, you're passive. Let me break that for you. The truth. Silence is the loudest response when someone doesn't deserve a word. It confuses them, it shakes them, it makes them stare at their own reflection because there's nothing left for them to bounce their poison off. They insult you, stay silent. They betray you, stay silent. They lie about you, stay silent. Because, folks, some fights aren't worth your voice. Some people don't deserve your truth. And some wounds don't need words, they need distance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." Let that one sink in, because every time you react to their game, you join it. Every time you explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, you lower your frequency just to be heard by someone who already turned down the volume. Let me tell you what happens when you stop speaking. Karma starts moving. When you don't respond to lies, the truth starts whispering behind closed doors. When you don't chase the ones who betrayed you, their guilt grows louder than your silence ever could. And when you stop trying to prove your worth, the right people start noticing what the wrong ones were blind to. You are not here to dance for their validation. You are not a performer in their circus. You are the storm they didn't prepare for, the calm they underestimated. Laugh a little, my friends, because when you finally stop reacting to people's games, you'll realize how much they relied on your energy to feel relevant. You'll see just how quiet they become when your attention leaves the room. You'll hear the sound of their ego collapsing in the echo of your silence. This video isn't just advice. It's a reminder that you are more dangerous when you do nothing than when you do too much. Stay with me. I'm going to show you 7 very real, very raw moments where the smartest move is to shut your mouth and let karma do the talking. And I promise you, when you hear that last one, it's going to hit you deep. Now, if you're ready to stop explaining, stop chasing, and stop wasting your energy on people who aren't even worth the silence you're about to give them, then type it below. I choose silence. Write it in the comments. Show yourself. Show the world. Because from this moment forward, your new affirmation is simple. Silence, strength, power. Let's begin. Number 1. When they lie about you to make themselves look good. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. Let's hit it straight. When someone lies about you, twists your words, distorts your truth just to make themselves look better, the first instinct is fire. You want to jump up, shout, post screenshots, collect evidence, and set the record straight. That's the emotional knee-jerk. I need to clear my name. But let me ask you something. Who are you trying to convince? Them, the crowd, or yourself? Imagine a man walking through a swamp. The deeper he tries to fight the mud, the more it clings to him, swallowing his legs, trapping his movement. That's what it feels like when you try to defend yourself against a lie crafted for drama. The more you explain, the deeper you sink. The more you justify, the more they spin. You're not fighting for truth. You're fighting in quicksand. And here's the real kicker. They didn't lie because they believed it. They lied because they needed control. Because truth exposes them, and your silence. That scares them. That haunts them. Because when you don't react, they don't get a show. And when they don't get a show, they start falling apart under their own performance. Let me ask you, how many times have you wasted hours, days, even weeks trying to fix a false narrative? And in the end, what changed? Did they apologize? Did the lie vanish? Or did you just lose your peace while they watched from the sidelines with popcorn in hand? Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it." That's it. That's the code. You don't owe explanations to people who build their self-worth on tearing yours down. You don't owe responses to clowns performing for applause. And you sure don't owe peace to the people who never brought you any. Let me paint you a picture. A man named Elijah, calm, hard-working, respected, until one jealous colleague decided to spread rumors, whispered lies that he was cheating the system, taking credit for work he didn't do. At first, Elijah was ready to respond, to send emails, make calls, demand meetings. But something in him paused. He remembered who he was. He remembered what he stood for. So, he said nothing. Not because he didn't care, but because his truth wasn't up for negotiation. Weeks passed. The liar got louder, sloppier, messier. Truth doesn't panic, but lies. They crumble when left alone. Eventually, someone else uncovered the truth. Elijah didn't lift a finger, and when it all came crashing down, he stood untouched. Dignity intact. Reputation strengthened. Not because he fought, but because he chose stillness. Here's the thing, lies are fragile. They require maintenance. They require reactions to stay alive. But truth? Truth is like a lion. You don't need to defend it. You just let it loose, and it defends itself. I get it. Silence in the face of lies is painful. You feel misunderstood, angry, afraid that people will believe what's false. But ask yourself, if they believe so easily, were they ever really on your side? If they needed no proof to turn on you, what did you actually lose? People who value truth wait for it. People who love you don't need the noise to know who you are. And here's what no one tells you. When you stay silent, you're not just protecting your peace. You're exposing theirs. You're giving them nothing to feed off. And when people can't provoke, they panic. They try harder, they unravel, and they start revealing who they truly are. So what should you do when someone lies about you? First, breathe. Don't react in anger. That's exactly what they want. Second, stay anchored in your values. If you know you've done no wrong, you don't chase shadows. Third, let karma take its time. Because karma doesn't miss, it just doesn't rush. You are not here to prove yourself to small minds. You are not a puppet in their little drama. You are the calm they fear, the silence that speaks, the presence they cannot replace. And if that fire inside you is still burning, let it burn, not for revenge, but for discipline, for honor, for that higher version of you who doesn't beg to be seen, but is impossible to ignore. Now take a breath. Feel that energy rising again, not as rage, but as power. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to shout to be right. You don't need to fight a lie that will collapse under its own weight. So let them talk, let them gossip, let them lie. You stay silent, you stay focused, and you let karma do the heavy lifting. Type it in the comments right now. My silence is my power. Let them see it. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. Because this is just the beginning. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you just how deadly your silence really is. Number 2. When they betray you and expect you to chase closure. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Let's talk about betrayal, the cut you never see coming, the wound that doesn't bleed but burns from the inside out. It doesn't come from strangers, it comes from the ones you trusted, the ones you let close, and that's what makes it so brutal. See, if a stranger harms you, it stings, but when someone you loved hands you the blade and then watches you bleed, that's a different kind of silence. Now here's what happens next. They walk away, casual, cold, justified in their mind. And you're left with the fire, the pain, the questions. Why would they do this? Didn't I matter? Did it ever mean anything to them? You start replaying conversations, rewriting memories. You're not healing, you're drowning in what-ifs and how could they? And the most dangerous part, you feel this urge to go back, not to reconnect, but to get answers, to shake them and scream, "Do you even realize what you've done to me?" But I'm here to break that lie wide open. They know. They just don't care enough. Because betrayal isn't an accident. It's a decision. A moment when they chose their ego, their greed, their insecurity over you. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a door you once opened for someone. You gave them warmth, trust, access to your heart. One day, they walk out. Not with a goodbye, but with your peace in their pocket. And now they stand on the other side, watching, waiting, not for you to close the door, but for you to beg them to come back in. But my friend, you don't beg anyone to understand the damage they caused. That's not closure. That's self-betrayal. Let me tell you about a woman named Elena. Loyal, loving, the kind of partner who showed up even when they weren't asked to. They believed in the good, gave second chances, held space for someone who didn't even know what to do with it. Until one day, he cheated, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and just like that, he was gone. No explanation, just silence. But weeks later, when the silence became too loud for him, he returned, not to apologize, but to justify, to rewrite the story, to shift blame. And Elena, instead of responding with rage, just stared. No words, no tears, no begging for answers, just stillness, because Theri had realized something powerful. What you chase after betrayal becomes your cage. See, the moment you go searching for closure from the one who broke you is the moment you hand them the pen to finish your story, and they'll never write the ending you deserve. They'll twist it, diminish it, make themselves the victim. That's how betrayers survive. They don't reflect, they rewrite. And when you refuse to engage, when you offer them nothing but silence, you rob them of the thing they crave most: control. Seneca once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Betrayal is that friction. It hurts, yes, but it also sharpens you. It slices away the illusion. It reveals who someone really was, not who you wanted them to be. And sometimes the most painful truth is the most necessary one. They were never what you thought. But let's be honest, it's not easy to walk away without words. You feel like you're letting them off the hook, that if you don't speak, if you don't demand an apology, they win. But here's the truth. They don't win because you stay silent. They win when they still have access to your energy, your reaction, your pain. The most haunting sound to a betrayer is your silence, not your scream, not your sadness, your silence. Because silence says, "I've accepted who you are, and I don't need you to understand who I am." That's dignity, that's strength, that's self-command. Let me give you a metaphor. Think of a flame. It only survives with oxygen. Now imagine your energy, your words, your emotions as the oxygen. When you argue, when you demand closure, you feed their fire. But when you go quiet, when you take a step back, you starve the flame, and the fire dies in the cold. So how do you deal with betrayal when every cell in your body wants to scream? First, you remind yourself that your peace is not up for negotiation. You don't need their apology to move on. You don't need their guilt to validate your pain. You don't need their awareness to begin your healing. Second, you take your power back through silence. You stop chasing. You stop performing. You stop reliving the hurt just to make it make sense. Some people weren't meant to be understood. They were meant to be removed. And third, you let karma walk through the door you locked behind them. Because karma doesn't show up with a loud bang. It shows up in patterns, in cycles, in the mirrors they can't avoid. One day, they'll look around and realize they lost someone who would have stayed, who would have fought, who would have forgiven. And you won't need to say a word, because your absence, that will be louder than any speech. You're not cold for staying silent. You're not bitter for walking away. You're not weak for choosing peace over chaos. You're just done, and done is a language they'll never understand until it's too late. So today, if someone betrayed you and expects you to chase them for closure, make a vow to yourself. I don't chase what broke me. I don't explain my worth. I don't return to pain just to make someone else comfortable. Type it in the comments. I don't chase betrayal. Write it for you. For the version of you that almost begged. For the strength inside you that chose silence over self-destruction. Because this isn't about revenge, it's about rebirth. Stay with me, because the next one, well, that's where the game really starts. Number 3, when they try to insult you into reacting. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Marcus Aurelius. Let's not sugarcoat it. Insults are not conversation. They're emotional landmines designed to explode the moment you step on them. And the ones who throw them, they don't want truth. They don't want dialogue. They want dominance. They want to drag you out of your peace and into their playground, because if they can get a rise out of you, they win. But here's the twist most people miss. The moment you react to an insult, you've already surrendered the higher ground. Picture this. You're in a room full of people. Someone throws a jab your way. Maybe it's sarcastic. Maybe it's a backhanded compliment. Maybe it's straight-up venom wrapped in fake concern. Everyone turns. The air tightens. They wait. Not for justice, but for your reaction. And this is the trap. Because the more clever your comeback, the more entertaining the show. The louder your defense, the more guilty you seem. They want to see if they can break you, and the only way they know they've failed is if you give them nothing. Think about it. What kind of person goes out of their way to insult someone who hasn't hurt them? One who's threatened, one who's insecure, one who's starving for power they don't actually have. And you, if you take the bait, if you start swinging back, if you stoop to their level, you just handed them the power they were pretending to have in the first place. Let me tell you about a man named Amir, solid, grounded, sharp. He was promoted at his company, and during a celebration lunch, one co-worker, let's call him Jason, decided to inject some poison. He raised a glass and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I guess they're just giving promotions to anyone now." The room went still, all eyes on Amir, waiting, hoping, begging him to clap back, to explode, to defend. But Amir, he smiled, took a sip of his drink, and said absolutely nothing. No witty comeback, no passive-aggressive jab, just silence. And in that silence, Jason's smirk faded, because he didn't get what he came for. He didn't get the chaos. And that silence, that was the real response, more cutting than any insult, more powerful than any speech. That's Stoic strength, that's power, because silence strips insult of its oxygen. When you don't react, you reveal who's actually in control. When you don't flinch, you show that their words are just noise in the wind, bouncing off armor they can't penetrate. But let's be honest, it's not easy. When someone disrespects you, especially in public, every nerve in your body wants to fire back. Who are they to speak to me like that? I need to shut this down right now. But pause, just for a second, and ask yourself, what's your goal, justice or power? Because justice demands war, but power doesn't need proof. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a stage. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And insult, my friends, is an invitation to a game where the only way to win is not to play. See, when you respond to an insult, you validate it. You give it weight, but when you remain unmoved, when your face doesn't twitch, when your voice stays calm and you offer no words, you turn their insult into a mirror, and trust me, they won't like what they see staring back. Now let me ask you something real. How many times have you wasted energy arguing with someone who didn't deserve your time? How many hours have you spent thinking of the perfect clapback, only to feel empty after delivering it? And who gained what? Did they change? Did it end anything? Or did you just descend into the noise and leave your peace behind? Insults are tests, and most people fail not because they're weak, but because they're addicted to being understood. They want to set the record straight. They want to be seen as right. But you don't need to explain truth. You embody it. And that, my friend, is what a Stoic does. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine a fire is set before you. You can either throw wood into it, your words, your reactions, your emotions, or you can let it burn itself out. Fires fueled by ego, hate, and insecurity don't last without attention. But the moment you engage, you become part of the flame. Don't be fuel, be stillness. So what do you do when someone tries to insult you into reacting? First, recognize the tactic. This is emotional bait. They're fishing, don't bite. Second, own your breath. You don't owe anyone a facial expression. You don't owe anyone a rise in your voice. Calm is your currency. Third, stay rooted in your identity. When you know who you are, no insult can define you. You're not what they say. You're what you choose to respond to. And here's the deeper part. Sometimes the insult isn't public. Sometimes it comes from the ones close to you. A partner, a family member, someone who knows your soft spots, and that's when it's the hardest to stay calm, but that's when it matters most. Because silence then, it's not just power, it's protection. Remember, folks, not everyone deserves access to your reaction. Some people only throw stones to see if they can break glass. But you're not glass. You're the mountain behind the window, and the stones, they just bounce off. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their emotional storm, don't get wet. Stay centered, stay grounded, say nothing, and let their storm pass without a drop hitting your skin. Type it in the comments right now. Silence is strength. Let them hear it. Let them feel it. Let them see it. Because your silence, it's not empty. It's full of power, full of grace, full of presence, and it speaks one truth they can't argue with. You are unshakable. And trust me, what's coming next will make you see silence not just as survival, but as dominance. Stay with me. Number 4, when they play the victim after hurting you. They hurt you, then cry when you stop bleeding for them. There's a special kind of manipulator out there, one that doesn't throw punches with fists, but with stories, one that doesn't fight you face to face, but rewrites the war to make it look like you were the attacker all along. These are the people who harm you, twist the truth, and then wrap themselves in a blanket of victimhood so convincing that even you start to question if you went too far just by walking away. It's psychological warfare, folks. But here's the twist. It only works if you speak. Because the moment you try to explain, defend, or clarify, you fall into their script. The audience sees a calm victim with tears in their eyes, and you, the one trying to explain your pain, start to look like the villain. This is not a misunderstanding. This is manipulation. And the most dangerous part? It's performed in front of the very people you thought knew you. Let's imagine this with a metaphor. You're a chess piece on their board. Every move you make, every word you say, they've already predicted. They're not looking for resolution. They're setting traps. You say too much. You look aggressive. You stay silent. They say you're cruel. You walk away, and now you abandoned them. But here's the secret. The only way to win this game is to leave the board entirely. Epictetus once said, "To complain is always non-productive and never appropriate." And that's exactly what this kind of person thrives on: complaints, tears, sob stories. But not because they're searching for truth or healing. No, they're searching for an audience. They want attention, not accountability. Now I know what you're thinking, but I have proof, I have screenshots, I have witnesses. Shouldn't I say something? You could. You absolutely could. But ask yourself this: who are you proving it to, and what does it cost you? Because in their world, logic doesn't matter, facts don't matter, only their feelings and how they can twist yours. Let me tell you a story. A woman named Layla. Sharp, loyal, the kind of person who speaks truth with calm, not chaos. They worked with someone, let's call her Mia, who constantly sabotaged others behind the scenes. But every time Mia got caught, they cried, claimed they were being bullied, claimed Layla was aggressive, intimidating, unfair. Layla tried to stay professional. They brought evidence, they explained timelines, they remained calm. But no one listened, because Mia cried louder than Layla could reason. So Layla stopped, not because they lost, but because they woke up. They realized that sometimes the truth doesn't need more evidence, it needs more time. They stepped back, said nothing, and guess what? Over the next few months, Mia repeated the same patterns, different targets, same tears, same fake story. Eventually people started seeing the pattern. Her mask slipped, her script unraveled, and Layla. They never had to say another word. See, people who play the victim aren't looking for reconciliation. They're looking for sympathy. They weaponize weakness. They pretend they're drowning, but they're the ones who pushed you off the boat. And if you dive back in, trying to rescue them, you drown with them. Now here's what makes it even harder. Sometimes it's people you love, a partner, a sibling, a friend. They lash out, cross lines, and when you finally set boundaries, they collapse into tears and scream, "I can't believe you're doing this to me." And there you are, hurt, but now on trial for how your pain made them feel. But my friends, don't fall for the illusion. Just because someone cries doesn't mean they're innocent. Just because someone paints themselves as broken doesn't mean they didn't cause the damage. Emotional manipulation wears the face of weakness, but behind it is control. So how do you respond? You don't. You observe. You stay still. You let their act play out without being part of it. Because when you don't feed the script, the show falls apart. You let karma, not confrontation, be your justice. And let me be clear, silence here is not bitterness. It's not you being cold. It's you choosing peace over drama. It's you saying, "I don't need to defend myself to someone who already decided to misunderstand me." That's not weakness. That's mastery. Here's another metaphor. Imagine you're standing in a courtroom, but the judge, jury, and audience are all friends of the person accusing you. Do you really think shouting will set you free? No. The only real escape is walking away from the trial entirely and letting time dismantle the lies they told. But that takes courage. That takes self-command, because deep down you want people to see the truth. You want the world to know what you endured. You want your side of the story heard. But here's the hard truth. The more you try to prove your innocence, the more guilty you look in the eyes of people addicted to drama. Let your life prove your truth. Let your silence echo louder than their noise, and let your growth be the answer they never expected. Here's what you do when someone plays the victim after hurting you. First, don't defend. Their mind is made up. And their audience doesn't want facts. They want tears. Let them have their show without you in the scene. Second, detach emotionally. You can't control what they say, but you can control whether it touches you. Be the mountain, not the echo. Third, trust patterns. People can fake stories, but they can't fake consistency. Let them repeat their behavior until the mask falls on its own. And above all, don't chase the truth. Let it walk slowly. It always arrives. So if you've been hurt, lied about, twisted into the villain after being the victim, don't raise your voice. Raise your energy. Don't clap back. Fall silent. Let karma handle what your words never could. Type it in the comments. Let karma speak. Say it. Show it. Stand in it. Because the truth doesn't need a lawyer, it just needs patience and silence. That's your closing argument. Stay with me, because the next moment to stay silent, that one will teach them that your absence hurts more than any revenge ever could. Number 5, when they take you for granted. Don't be afraid to lose people. Be afraid of losing yourself, trying to please everyone. Let's talk about one of the most exhausting forms of disrespect. Being taken for granted, not betrayed, not insulted, just ignored. You show up, you call first, you ask how they are. You remember the little things. You give your time, your energy, your loyalty, and in return, silence, indifference, maybe even annoyance. And you sit there wondering, how did I go from being appreciated to being expected? It doesn't happen all at once. No one wakes up and says, today I'm going to take them for granted. It happens slowly. You answer every message instantly. You never miss a birthday. You go out of your way. And over time, your presence stops being a gift. It becomes a background noise, something they assume will always be there, like oxygen, like a charger plugged into the wall, like light when you flip the switch. But here's the hard truth. People don't value consistency until it disappears. They don't value presence until it becomes absence. They don't hear your silence until it replaces your effort. And that's where your power begins. Imagine a well, clean water, always full. People come, drink, take, come back again. They never ask where the water comes from, never notice how deep the well goes, until one day it's dry, and suddenly they panic. Where's the water? They never cared to ask before, but now that it's gone, they feel the lack. That well, that's you, and you've been giving, without anyone asking how you're doing, how full you are, how much more you can give before you collapse. Now listen, my friend, there's no glory in being unappreciated. There's no medal for tolerating neglect. And there is absolutely no reward for staying silent in the face of emotional starvation. But here's the twist. You don't need to scream. You don't need to throw it in their face. You don't need to start arguments, send long paragraphs, or stage your exit. You simply stop. You stop showing up first. You stop initiating. You stop overgiving, and you let the silence speak for you. Let me tell you a story. A man named Carter. A friend everyone could rely on, the one who picked you up at 2 a.m., who remembered your job interview, who checked in after your breakup. But one day, he realized something. No one was checking in on him. No one was asking about his day. His inbox was full when people needed something, but empty when he didn't reply. So he ran a quiet experiment. He stopped. No texts, no calls, no reminders. And do you know what happened? Some people never noticed, some disappeared, but a few, just a few, reached out. Hey, haven't heard from you. You good? And that was all the information Carter needed. His silence filtered the real from the convenient. Seneca once said, "Time discovers truth." And sometimes the truth people need to discover is your absence, because presence is a privilege. And when someone treats your love like a utility, it's time to cut the power. But let's be honest, this is hard, especially if you're a giver. You want to believe that your consistency will inspire appreciation, that your loyalty will teach them to value you, that if you just keep showing up, one day they'll say, "Wow, I really see you now." But some people don't open their eyes until you walk away, and others, they never open them at all. And here's the lie you need to break. If I pull back, I'm being cold. No, you're being wise. You're creating space. You're giving them a chance to feel what life is like without your effort holding everything together. And if they notice, good. If they don't, even better. You just learned who never deserved you in the first place. Your silence isn't punishment, it's revelation. So how do you respond when you feel taken for granted? First, don't lash out. Don't explain. Don't beg to be seen. You're not a salesperson trying to pitch your value. Second, observe. Who reaches out when you go quiet? Who asks where you are? Who checks in, not because they need something, but because they miss you? Third, shift your energy inward. Pour back into yourself, into your goals, your peace, your future. Because the time you've spent trying to earn basic respect, that time belongs to your growth now. Let me paint you another metaphor. You're a sun. You've been shining non-stop, giving light and warmth to those around you. But they've stopped noticing. They take the sunrise for granted. So you set, just for a while, and in that darkness, they finally realize how cold it is without you. That's the power of silence. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It reveals. And I know what you're thinking, but what if they never come back? Then good, because anyone who only sees your worth when you're gone was blind when it mattered. And you deserve to be seen in your presence, not just in your absence. So the next time you feel overlooked, unheard, unappreciated, don't explain yourself. Disappear, quietly, calmly, with dignity, and watch what happens. Some will move on without a second thought. That's your sign. Others will realize too late. That's their karma. But a rare few, the ones who truly value you, will notice, will shift, will reach back. That's your circle. Type it in the comments. I will not beg to be seen. Let the world hear you. Let yourself feel it. Say it for the version of you that kept showing up when no one clapped. Say it for the version of you that stayed loyal while being invisible. Because silence, when you're being taken for granted, is not passive. It's transformational. It's the boundary that doesn't need a speech. It's the mirror that reflects the truth. And it's the only language some people ever understand. Stay with me, because next we're going deeper into a kind of provocation that tests everything inside you, and the silence there. That one turns you from target to titan. Number 6, when they provoke you to break your character. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Some battles aren't meant to be won, they're meant to be avoided. And one of the most deceptive battles you'll ever face is the one where someone deliberately provokes you, not because they want the truth, but because they want a reaction, a meltdown, a crack in your armor. They want to watch you fall out of character, because when you do, they win. This isn't about conflict. This is about control. They know your values, your limits, your buttons, and they poke them like a child banging on a glass case at the zoo. Why? Because they need to prove that they can get to you, that they can steal your peace, make you wobble, and pull you out of alignment. But here's the hard truth you've got to swallow. When someone gets you to break your character, they don't just take your words, they take your power. Think about it. When was the last time someone said something just vague enough to hurt, but not specific enough to confront? A passive-aggressive jab, a smirk, a sarcastic comment dropped in public. Or maybe it's worse, it's in private, With someone who knows you so well, they know exactly where your emotional landmines are buried. And you feel it rise, the fire in your chest, the lump in your throat, the shaking hands. You want to snap, shout, clap back. You want to set the record straight, drop the truth, silence the disrespect. You want them to know that you're not the one to play with. But here's what happens when you do that. You descend. You leave the seat of your strength. You exit the kingdom of your own self-control, and you walk into their arena, a place built on chaos, on emotion, on manipulation. And in that arena, your logic won't work. Your truth won't land. Your power, it evaporates, because now you're reacting, and a man who reacts is a man who's been moved. Let me tell you about a man named Malik, stoic, composed, a quiet professional who commanded respect not by how loud he spoke, but by how little he needed to. One day, during a team meeting, someone decided to test him. A co-worker, jealous, insecure, said something slick under his breath, loud enough for everyone to hear, questioned his abilities, tried to embarrass him in front of the team. All eyes turned. The air froze. Everyone waited to see how Malik would respond, but he didn't. He looked up, blinked, gave a faint, almost imperceptible smile, and went right back to his notes. No argument, no shade, no comeback, just stillness. And in that moment, the entire power dynamic flipped. The room didn't remember what the guy said. They remembered how Malik didn't move, didn't shake, didn't break. Because sometimes the most powerful statement isn't made with words. It's made with what you choose not to say. You want to know why that silence hit harder than any insult? Because when you don't give someone the chaos they're begging for, they collapse under the weight of their own weakness. Let me give you a metaphor. You're a fortress, strong, still, imposing. Every jab, every poke, every insult is a stone thrown at your walls. But your job is not to jump out and chase every stone thrower. Your job is to remain unmoved. Because once you open the gate and run down every attacker, you've already lost the high ground. The moment you lose your temper, you've lost your throne. Marcus Aurelius wasn't joking when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." You can't control what they say. You can't control what they think. But you can control how you show up. You can control whether or not you let someone else's emotional immaturity write your script. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you should tolerate disrespect. I'm saying you don't respond to it in the way they want you to. Your silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. It's you saying, "I see your little game, and I refuse to play it." This is spiritual discipline. This is emotional strength. This is what separates men from boys, leaders from reactors, and warriors from wanderers. So what do you do when someone tries to provoke you? First, you breathe deeply. That breath is your reset button. It's your reminder that you are not a puppet tied to their triggers. Second, you observe. Don't react. Study. See the pattern. Watch their eyes. Look for the insecurity behind the mask. Because provokers are predictable, they're not strong, they're scared. They just learn to use noise as a disguise. Third, you hold your frame. Your energy is your kingdom, your tone, your posture, your presence. These are not gifts for just anyone to rattle. When you hold your frame, you send a message louder than any scream. You don't move me, you don't matter that much. And fourth, you exit if necessary. You don't stay in rooms where peace must be defended. Sometimes the strongest man isn't the one who speaks last. It's the one who walks away first, in silence, with power. Let me ask you something. Do you want to be feared for your reactions or respected for your discipline? Because make no mistake, real power isn't in your fists. It's in your ability to keep them still when they want to fly. It's in your ability to smile when someone's trying to ignite your rage. It's in your silence, because silence makes people nervous. It makes them reflect. It forces them to sit with themselves, and most people can't do that for more than a minute without cracking. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their storm, stay rooted in your calm. Don't flinch, don't fire back, don't dance for their chaos. Just stand there, watch, and say nothing, because your silence, that's not avoidance, it's dominance. Type it in the comments right now. I will not break character. Say it, show it, live it, not for them, for you. Because that's silence. That's where your real power lives. And what's coming next, that's when your silence becomes unforgettable. Number 7, when they finally regret losing you. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. Let's talk about that moment. You know the one. When the silence you gave them starts to echo in their mind. When the absence they once ignored begins to feel like a punishment they can't escape. When they finally realize you're not coming back. That's when regret walks in, late, shaky, confused, and suddenly they remember everything they took for granted. But you're already gone, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually. And that, my friend, is the most powerful kind of silence you'll ever hold. See, people rarely recognize value in real time. They see it when it disappears. When your love, your loyalty, your presence becomes a memory instead of a guarantee. They remember the way you listened when no one else did, the way you showed up when they were inconsistent, the way you stayed long after they stopped deserving you. And now that you've gone quiet, now that you've gone still, they panic, they reach, they apologize, they promise change. But here's the truth. They didn't change. The silence just got too loud. Imagine this. You're a flame. You burn bright, warm, reliable. They kept their hands over the fire, taking the heat, never once thinking you might burn out. But one day, you stop, you go out, and suddenly the cold creeps in. The darkness wraps around them, and for the first time they realize the fire wasn't free. It was a gift they mistreated, a gift that now lives only in memory. And here's the trick they'll play when regret hits. They'll come back soft, meek, reflective. They'll say, I didn't realize what I had. I miss you. I've changed. And you'll be tempted, not because you want them back, but because part of you wants to believe that your silence worked, that your absence taught them something, that maybe, just maybe, this time they see you. But don't fall for it, because if someone only values you after you're gone, they never really valued you in the first place. They valued access, not presence. They wanted you there, but not in your fullness. They loved the light, but never protected the flame. Let me tell you about a woman named Elise. Quiet power, big heart. They poured into a relationship like it was sacred, held him down when he was lost, built with him, believed in him. But he grew entitled. He stopped showing up, stopped appreciating, stopped reciprocating. Elise stayed for a while, until one day they didn't. No argument, no dramatic exit, just silence. Weeks turned into months, and suddenly his messages started showing up again. I've been thinking about you. No one compares. I made a mistake. But Elise, they had healed in silence, rebuilt in silence, risen in silence. And now that he was knocking, they didn't answer. Not out of spite, but out of respect. Respect for the version of her that cried in the dark while he slept peacefully. Respect for the version of her that begged for effort and got excuses. Respect for the woman they became when they stopped begging to be seen. Because closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself, the moment you decide that their regret is not your responsibility. And yes, it's hard. There's a part of you that wants to give them that conversation, that wants to hear why, that wants them to bleed the way you bled. But that's not healing, that's performance. And you don't need to perform anymore. You're done explaining, you're done proving, you're done auditioning for a role they never valued. So when they finally regret losing you, what do? First, don't make it easy. They lost access to you. They don't get to walk back through the same door they burned. Let your distance speak louder than their words. Second, resist the urge to explain. Let the silence carry the weight of every ignored text, every overlooked effort, every time you sat alone, waiting for them to remember your worth. And third, stand firm in your decision. Regret is loud, but it fades. Growth is quiet, but it lasts. Don't trade your peace for their temporary panic. Here's a metaphor to drive it home. Think of yourself like a rare diamond. You were placed in their hands, but they treated you like a rock, tossed you in a drawer, forgot your shine. And now that someone else has noticed your worth, now that you've stopped showing up, they want another chance to mishandle the gem they weren't prepared to hold. No, you are not a second chance. You are not a lesson. You are not a maybe one day. You are the test they failed. And the silence you give them now, that's their grade. So let them miss you. Let them scroll through old messages. Let them replay the moments you were there and they weren't. Let them sit in the discomfort of knowing they had something real and they dropped it. Because your silence, it's not revenge, it's closure, it's wisdom, it's you stepping fully into your worth. So type it in the comments. I will not return. Not to what broke you, not to what ignored you, not to what finally noticed after you were gone. Write it, say it, live it, show yourself, show the world. And if this entire video spoke to something deep inside you, if it mirrored a pain, if it reminded you of your power, if it gave you back what someone tried to take, then you already know what to do. Hit that like button. Because this space isn't just a channel. It's a movement, a refuge, a daily dose of silent strength in a world addicted to noise. And if someone you know needs this message, send it, share it. Let your silence echo through their confusion. Because in the end, the strongest message you'll ever deliver isn't a speech. It's a closed door and the sound of your footsteps walking away.